Well, welcome to the inaugural podcast for Studio 42 and TruCare Provider Services. We are very fortunate to have a special guest and also interviewers with us today. Our interviewers are Diana Mairose from Hamilton County Developmental Disability Services and Joe Hoefker with TruCare. And our special guest, Commissioner Driehaus. Welcome. Thank you for accepting our invitation.
Yeah, I'm delighted to be here. It's very special to be on the inaugural podcast, so I'm thrilled.
Just a brief synopsis. Commissioner Driehaus attended Miami University in Oxford, Ohio, and after graduating, Ms. Driehaus owned and operated a couple of businesses. She was later a member of the Ohio House of Representatives from the 31st District. She continues to serve Hamilton County as a Hamilton County Commissioner and President of the Commissioners. She has been serving since 2017. She's a resident of the greater Cincinnati area and has 2 children.
That's right, Sarah and Andrew.
Okay. So again, thank you for accepting our invitation.
I'm thrilled to be here.
We're going to start off with some easy questions. So, Joe, why don't you start us off with your first question?
What is your resource of your county?
What are the resources?
Of your county?
What resources, I guess,
Yeah.
does Hamilton County
I mean,
have?
Hamilton
For
County,
people
yeah.
with disabilities. Yeah, so our primary resource is the levy. It's the DD levy. It runs every 5 years, and it has always been supported by members of this community. And so that is a tremendous funding source. Not every community has a levy for DD, and so we're lucky to have that, and we're lucky to have citizens that support it.
Yeah.
Diana, go ahead.
Are there any active legislation or activity at the county level that will help improve the lives of people with developmental disabilities?
So one of the primary examples I can think of is what we did with our ARPA dollars at the federal government. So we got money down, $158 million, which was a lot of money for the county. We allocated about $50 million of that for housing. And we said to ourselves, so we want to do affordable housing, workforce housing, but we also have needs in specific communities for housing. And I have been through the LAD homes. When I was a state representative, I went through a LAD home. It's these smart homes that allow people to live independently, that have disabilities but don't need to be with someone 24/7 by way of care. And so we went through the LAD house. It's a really great model out in Anderson Township. And so we committed a portion of that $50 million to those kinds of houses, these smart homes. And so we're building, I think it's 38 units of housing for people with disabilities with those federal dollars. We identified a couple other populations, namely veterans, seniors, people that are reentering from the Justice Center. But this disability piece was really important to all 3 county commissioners. So that's something that is very top of mind for me. And we're also doing other things that acknowledge that people don't receive information in the same way as others. And so at all of our meetings, you now will see interpreters, making sure that people that are hearing impaired have the ability to engage in those meetings. That started during COVID, when we were doing those daily briefings with Greg Kesterman, and we always had an interpreter at those briefings, and we've just carried that forward now into all of our meetings at the county. And we're going to do the State of the County next week. I should say I'm going to do the State of the County next week on Wednesday, and we're going to make sure that we have interpreters there. So I think it's just a nod to recognizing that we need to do better in that space to make sure everybody has the ability to engage with the county.
So we talked about the generosity of Hamilton County voters in passing the Developmental Disability Levy. But in addition to that, something that helps that broader community is the SORTA levy, the transportation levy. Can you kind of touch on how that benefits folks with disability and, quite frankly, anybody in the county?
Yeah, it doesn't impact everybody. There's a lot of infrastructure money there, but there's also a lot of money, 3/4 of the money, I believe, going towards making that system more accessible in every way. So it is not only the large buses and the rapid transit routes, that's all important, but they're also expanding the more localized routes with the smaller vehicles to get people around their own communities. Something I've been working on for a couple of years is the access piece of SORTA. I've heard a number of complaints about access. It takes a long time for the vehicle to get there. You have to wait. It's not convenient. And so we're looking to make that better, but also expand that service so it's not a curb-to-curb service, but rather what we call the through-the-door service. So sometimes people with disabilities, depending on what kind of disability it is, cannot get to the curb. And so we are trying to get Metro to invest in a through-to-the-door service so that people can have someone come out of the van, go up to the door, literally help them from their home out to the vehicle instead of doing that curb-to-curb, because that just doesn't work for everybody. Let me give you one example of that. I had a constituent, she was blind, and she didn't know when the access van was out there. She couldn't see it, right? And so it was like, well, wait a minute. If somebody came and knocked on the door, she would know they were there. And so she brought this to my attention. It's true for her and for people that are wheelchair bound and all the different things that you can think of. And so we've been working on this. Council on Aging is also part of the effort to get this going. And so we're working on it. We're talking to the board members over at SORTA to make sure that the transportation system that we all paid into, right, we all supported that levy, really does support everybody in the community.
So I guess not only do you have increased accessibility with that type of program, you have significant increase in safety and security for individuals that do have developmental disabilities. A lot of times they may be traveling alone without the assistance of someone else, and to have that person who actually can physically help give them mobility into the vehicle
Yep.
is amazing. It's a huge increase in service. So hopefully
Yeah, it's
you
a
have
different
success.
look, right? And it's what I call the continuum. So, you go from everybody in this community being able to access public transportation. And it's a continuum. People have different kinds of abilities. And so some people can jump on the bus and away they go. Others need access. There are others that need more than access. And so we're just trying to finish out the continuum of access to transportation. And so the board's open to it, but it's complicated. So they're working through it, but I hope we can get there.
Well, one of our goals at TruCare is to increase the community involvement of people we serve, getting them into the community, and transportation is definitely one of the biggest modes of getting folks out into the community. So that's outstanding. So
Well, maybe it would be helpful for some of your members to advocate to the SORTA board.
do you foresee, or are there already scheduled public hearings for that?
They have public meetings.
Okay.
I don't have that schedule in front of me, but I think it would be really helpful for them to hear from people that would be impacted by that expansion of service and how great it would be. And so I would encourage you to engage at the board level.
For sure.
And because transportation is such a huge issue for people with disabilities.
Joe, what's your next question?
Since I'm right here.
Yeah.
What,
I'll help him out because he already told me what he was going to say.
what it was.
Yep. He was going to ask you what future legislation do you see over your next term and how that might help people with developmental disabilities?
So I think that we are looking and trying to incorporate this lens for people with disabilities in all of our work, and it's really access for us and making sure that people have access to the supports through the DD levy, as we discussed, making sure that people are aware of those supports, because I think that's one of the biggest challenges. And then this other lens on no matter what we're doing, we have the lens of access. So let me give you an example of that. It's not as much behavioral, but rather broad access to some of our facilities, including the stadiums. And so we've got a project that is currently underway, thinking about how to reconfigure that stadium. We need to make strides when it comes to providing access to people with disabilities in that stadium. And it's not only, oh, you get the seats that are left over up on the third tier, on the corner. It shouldn't be that. It should be recognizing that people with disabilities should have the good seats along with everybody else, in addition to other seats throughout the facility. The other thing we're thinking about doing, and we've talked about, is making sure that people with any kind of sensory issues, we've got spaces, calming spaces for them to go to kind of download or to regroup. And so those are the kinds of things that we're thinking about when it comes to our facilities.
Yeah, I think what people in our community might call that as purposeful engineering to make sure it's already in place and not just fill in the holes.
That's right. It can't be the afterthought, right? It has to be a lens through which you look when you're doing all things, and it's really all things and all particularly buildings. We've got a lot of buildings coming online, and we need to pay attention to access.
Yeah, for sure. Diana, do you have a question?
Yes, I do. Wait. Is there a county employee assigned and a responsibility to make sure county facilities and parks are compliant with the most current ADA requirements? Is there someone to contact if there is a concern?
I love this question. That is not something I've thought about. But we, of course, are ADA compliant in all of our facilities. But what we've just been talking about takes it further than that. So ADA compliance is one thing. People can access a building, for instance, or a stadium, for instance. It's another thing to say we want them to have the same experience as everybody else. It's not just about that entry or that initial access, but rather that lens of, how do we make that experience full and rewarding for everybody. We do not, to my knowledge, have one person that is in charge. We've got engineers, we've got people throughout all our different systems that are building these buildings or retrofitting the buildings. So I love this idea, though, that there is one person that somebody with a disability could go to and say, or an organization could go to and say, hey, you're the one that's the expert here. Have you thought about this or have you thought about that? So I'm happy to carry that back to the commission. Let me say one thing about parks, because while the county parks are run by a board, and they hire their own executive director. So there is a levy that supports that as well. So that is not under the county commissioners. However, we have given funds to different communities as they built out parks to make sure those parks are accessible. So I don't know if the park board, either at the city or the county, have someone that is solely committed to thinking through accessibility issues, but I think it's a great idea. So happy to carry it back, as I said.
Yeah, they're on the heels of a levy passed just a few years ago.
Yes.
And doing quite a bit of changes in some of the county parks, including Sharon Woods right up the road here.
Yes.
So the question I have for you, since my familiarity is with law enforcement, there have been several recent cases where a person with developmental disability has an interaction with law enforcement, and sometimes that doesn't always go so well. You govern the sheriff's office with the sheriff. Do you guys plan on implementing or have there implemented a training for law enforcement officers so that they are better equipped to interact with people with disability?
Yeah, so the county commissioners don't have authority over the sheriff. She's independently elected. We work in partnership with the sheriff. And I do think, it is confusing. I got that question just a couple days ago from someone. And so she's independently elected. But that said, we work in collaboration with her, and I know she is doing training to make sure that there's a sensitivity for not only people with disabilities, but people that are different from the person that's the deputy, right? I mean, it's diversity training in some ways, and diversity includes people with disabilities. And so she's doing that kind of training currently. We had not seen a lot of that prior to her becoming the sheriff, and so I'm very encouraged by that, and we are supporting that. I mean, the nexus between the sheriff and the county commissioners is we control the budget. And so she comes to us with a budget ask, and then we are able to ask questions about that budget, and training is a really important piece of that. And so we can see through her budget that she's committed to more training to make sure that people, whether they're people with disabilities or simply people that are different, as I said, from the deputy, involved in that interaction, that there's some sensitivity there, and people don't have just immediate reactions to something that they don't understand, because that's often what it is.
It might
right?
be an individual who has behaviors and it's totally perceived differently from
That's right.
a person that does not have behavioral issues. And so they respond in their one and only way they've been trained,
Yeah.
and that is with some level of force.
Yeah, because they
Typically.
don't understand that person is acting in a way that is not threatening.
Right.
It's just a behavioral...
Natural for them.
That's exactly
Natural
right.
for
And
them.
so being able to see that and respond appropriately to that, I think,
Yeah.
is what you're referring to, and really key.
And, you can sit here and just look back. I'm of an age where I can see where the changes over the many years for people with developmental disabilities have been huge.
Mm-hmm.
They've made monumental strides in improving services for folks with developmental disabilities, but also individuals have gained respect because people have learned that they are capable, they can live a measure on their own with assistance. And one of those levels of assistance just happens to be technology and remote monitoring. Are you familiar with that type of service for?
Well, that we're back now. I'm back to the smart homes.
home,
Yeah,
yeah.
which to me is all about the technology and being able to access technology in a way that allows people with disabilities to live independently as they get older. And so I know they started with a smart home that had all the bells and whistles in it, trying to figure out what was necessary, because it was very expensive to build. And so as you think through that, it's like, well, could we have done this without this piece or this piece? But it was really important to have this piece, And so, the technology has allowed us to do things really differently in this community. And to me, the smart homes are a huge part of that. But also, all these other things like you have the interpreters I had some business cards with Braille on them just, to provide additional access. So there are many ways to think through this.
So is your office or the county commissioners, are they over Hamilton County Developmental Disability Services?
We are in partnership with them.
Okay, good. Another collaboration.
Yes. It's very confusing, isn't it? I feel like I always need to kind of do the County 101. But we've got many departments underneath us, but many of the DD has its own board. I mean, a lot of these agencies have their own board or they're independently elected. Can I follow up real quick? Because something occurred to me about the sheriff. We have recently had some incidents in the community where de-escalation was necessary and a really important strategy. We saw that happen. De-escalation, though, can be used in what could be a potentially violent situation with individuals, or a situation that you were referring to earlier where there is a misunderstanding about somebody's behavior, and just to de-escalate is helpful in that environment. And so she talked a lot about de-escalation when we were talking about this other incident. So that's another way to think about when you're engaging with somebody with a disability, you don't understand the behavior, and you're trying to just de-escalate first so that you can better understand what you're looking at.
And in fact, the skills of de-escalation not only help in interacting with folks with developmental disabilities, but just overall all interactions with
100%.
citizens, for sure.
100%.
So where I was going to go with technology is...
Sorry,
that,
I got you off
no,
track
you're
there.
fine. TruCare Provider Services, one of the niches that we have isn't necessarily building that expensive house that a lot of people can't afford. Our niche is that we will go in and meet with the individual, family, SSA, who is an advocate on behalf of the county for the individual. And we make a determination through an assessment whether or not they can actually safely live on their own, maybe part of the day, the full day. And then our niche is we find the technology that actually enables them to do so, depending on whatever their diagnosis and physiological situation might be. And then we will make that match with the goal in mind that we're helping them reach their personal goals. And we will acquire that, deploy it, train, transition to it, and then maintain a full cycle, again,
Yeah.
like you spoke of earlier.
So important.
And that's our niche, but it's in their existing home. Or if they're in the position where they're having to acquire a home, we'll help them find that residence and then make it to where they can live on their own. Now, a lot of times the model is hybrid, and as you know, there's definitely some human resource issues right now because we can't find all the help we need. So that's where technology comes in and enables them to live on their own part of the time and then have that caregiver in the rest of the day. And that's what we specialize in at TruCare. So I guess what I would say is the reason I was recognizing Hamilton County DDS is they've had numerous expos where we can go and share with the public what we do. Because sometimes a family has not considered allowing that loved one to move out on their own. Sometimes they, lack of a better word, they need the kick in the butt to make that consideration and realize, wow, my loved one is fully capable. Do you want to say something about that?
Yeah.
Yes. We do a couple sessions a year. It is called Futures Now, and we used to do it in person, and then COVID hit, and now we give the families an opportunity, and we have a letter of intent, which is not a legal document, but this is what you need to know about my loved one in case one day they come home and mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, and uncle are in the hospital. And it's a start. It's not something, you don't have to legalize it.
It's not in stone, right?
It's right, and you can change it.
It's a start in the right direction.
It's a positive start in the right direction.
So I want to remind people that you're a representative of Hamilton County Developmental Disability Services.
Yes,
So you know what you're talking about.
I did definitely
Got
know
her
what
swag
I'm
on. We all know. Yeah.
and what really unique about this, we call it a training, but it's not really a training. It's connections, and we talk
Education.
We talk about trust. We talk about the role of DD services, but
The role of providers.
and it's a way to bring families together. And believe it or not, 9 out of 10 chances, the families that are on the call, they live 5-10 minutes apart,
Right.
and they don't even know it.
So I guess it would be important at this point to say that we're not only are we fortunate to have the levy that we enjoy the benefits of, but Ohio is actually a tech-first state.
Yeah.
One of only about 7 or 8 states who've actually allotted quite a bit of money to allow the opportunity for a person with developmental disabilities to choose to utilize technology, assistive tech, and also the services of a remote monitoring, which we are one of only a few providers in Ohio. I haven't advised you this, but we do remote monitoring and assistive tech in all 88 counties of Ohio. We're not just restricted to Southwest Ohio. And there is a huge need for this service. And so it does fight the labor issues that we've got. But more importantly, it is that catalyst for a family to consider allowing them to have their loved one live the life that they want to live.
Right. I think that's tremendous and hugely important. It's a smart home, but a step down from that, because not everybody needs to be in a smart home, but rather you can retrofit a home to accommodate somebody with a disability and allow them to live autonomous in that space. So I think that's fantastic. It reminds me of what we do for seniors, trying to keep them in their homes and just providing enough assistance, whether it's a meal or doing laundry or whatever it is. You provide that assistance. They can stay in their homes, or in this case, move to a home where they just need that little bit of help to stay there. And not only is it best for the individuals. It is also cheaper for any government, state, county, the DD levy, doesn't matter. It's a cheaper, more efficient way to address the need of the individual that doesn't need the 24/7, but rather just needs a little bit of help. So it's a fantastic model, and it really does serve the folks that are living in those those places the best.
Yeah,
and so I apply.
sure.
I think it's a great move forward.
Well, it's definitely it's not so new. I mean, it's been around for a few years, but it seems to be a growing way of thought for families, and it really does enable the family to be a stronger family and the individual to seek their personal goals. And
Yeah, that's right.
it's been quite exciting to see it from a provider standpoint, and to see it spread throughout the county and throughout Ohio. So, Denise, before we end our broadcast, go ahead. Do you have something to say?
I have, this summer was the Americans with Disabilities Act anniversary, and we are planning a huge, pre-planning a huge celebration in the city of Cincinnati, and I just wanted to let Denise know that.
Yeah.
And we don't know what it's gonna look like yet, but we know we're gonna have one because
What month is that?
July.
July.
Okay, that's great.
And that,
So somebody could probably pay attention to the
Yes.
Hamilton County DDS website
yes,
for more information.
And March is Developmental Disability
Month.
Awareness Month.
Mm-hmm.
March 4th, is that my birthday?
Yep, it's coming up.
Yes. We are having a live stream from Columbus in Cincinnati at our Kinsley office, 5093 Kinsley Drive, from 9 to 12 a.m. All is welcome. Please spread the word. We're going to have speakers, and we're going to have a full agenda, and the best part is we're having Bob Evans.
Oh, nice.
So please come and
So Diana, these are great events that help people come together
yeah.
under the same topic, which is developmental
Advocacy.
disabilities. What's the website for your office so that people can learn more?
We just changed.
Okay.
My email, I can.
Well, let's think of this. They can learn more if they just do a search on Hamilton County Developmental Disability Services. And with that search, they can learn more
Yes.
about the dates and times and what's coming up.
Can I just say, from the county perspective, we will be glad to attend and offer a proclamation to celebrate the month or the day. I think we do the month. We've already done that. But if there is an event and you want the day proclaimed from the county, happy to do that. So just let us know.
Okay.
And you should ask the city to do the same. We should all be celebrating
Perfect.
the ADA, which was a landmark decision to recognize people with disabilities and treat them just like everybody else. So yeah, happy to participate in that.
Joe, do you have any additional questions?
Thank you for your good work.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me in.
Thank you.
Yeah,
well,
this
Denise,
is great.
thank you for coming out for our inaugural broadcast. We
Sure
really
thing.
appreciate your time. I know you have a busy schedule.
I'm very flattered that you asked me to be at the inaugural broadcast. And Joe and Diana, thank you for your questions. I really appreciate it.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again. And thank you for tuning in, and stay tuned for future broadcasts. Again, thank you from TruCare Provider Services. So long.